Welcome back to the coverage of the 2019 Shawnee Mission Frostbreaker, presented by Dynamic Disc. On this card, we have Tom Gilbert, sponsored by Plastic Addicts, John Jones, Jose Ossa, and Kitz Siebert. All of these guys are pretty much close together. Tom shooting a 51, John Jones shooting a 52, and Jose and Kitz shooting a 53. Starting on hole 1, pretty much the same course. If you do want to see the flight, like a drone flight footage, check out the 300-foot arm YouTube channel. He's got a nice fly through. Tom pretty much throws a forehand. He doesn't get the skip he might want, but he will have a putt for 2. John Jones throwing a mid-range with the turnover. Gets a nice skip up to the basket. And, yeah. Jose going with the standstill forehand. Gets it out wide enough and does get a good skip. He's right on the edge of the bushy trees. And then Kitz also going with the forehand. Throwing it out wide. Gets a decent skip out of that. Here's Tom looking for 2. And of course, Tom has a 1-stroke lead over John Jones and 2 strokes over Jose and Kitz. Also, someone on the chase card. Pretty much the first round, everyone was close. There wasn't one kind of breaking out of the pack. Scores were 51, 52, 53. A ton of 55s and 56s and so on and so on. So we got a close battle throughout the whole course today. That was a nice putt by Jose to take a 2. Kitz unfortunately misses a little right, soars back, but hopefully he can make this putt to save par. And he's got a pretty cool looking putt. And sinks that in to save par. John Jones is pretty much in tap-in range for him. And just like that, we have a tie ball game going into hole 2. And unfortunately, Tom is tapping in his par. And he forgot his mini, so that's what he's rushing off for. And of course, this morning, around 9 o'clock, all that right there underneath the basket was frozen. So Kitz got a little bit lucky with the temperature warming up and actually sticking. So earlier he might have skipped maybe 30 more feet. John Jones throwing a harp here. Gets it a little too wide, but he will have a lick for 2. Jose, I believe this is a rock 3 or a rock, pretty much a mid-range. I know he was throwing it the day before. Gets a nice little air bounce, directing it away from the limbs. It's hole 2. All you need to do is keep it in the middle. Throw something pretty straight. Just don't grip lock it into the right. There is an OB creek over there. Also, there is a OB road on the left, which I don't think it's reachable. And hopefully no one goes that far. Tom making the adjustment from round 1. Throws it a little bit shorter. And he should have a look for 2. And Kitz as well going with a mid-range, it looks like. And all that right there in front of the tee pad is all mud. So give it a couple of days before going out and trying to beat these guys' scores. I know that's what I usually do after seeing some coverage. Kitz has a nice drive. He'll have a look for 2. John Jones was the farthest out. Gets a nice glide with those daggers, and he sinks the 2. Trying to get a little bit more pressure on these guys since it is a tight race. Tom also having a tester. Looking for 2. gives it a nice putt and sinks the 2. Keeping that same par, or not same par, I'm keeping up with John. Of course, it's really slippery right now since everything is thawing out. And everything is pretty much mud from the tournament before. And Kitz looking for the 2. With that putt. Almost spits back out, but he will take the 2. Looking at the camera saying, hey, I can get you some nice looking action putts. And Jose pretty much has a tap in 2. Just maybe some dangling tree right there. Or maybe not. It's dead pole, takes the 2 with the starbird of the round. Everyone is still pretty much par. Like there, 6 down, 5 down, and 4 down. So it's still a close race. Hole 3, one of the toughest holes on the course. All you have to do is hit the gap, keep it low, skip it up to the basket. I know I'm saying a lot, but only thing not to do is skip right on the road. The road is OB. John clipping those trees on the right knocks it right down. He will have an attempt for a putt. It's going to be obstructed by the tree garden by the basket. Jose looking for that skip, skips it and rolls a little bit over to that tree I was talking about earlier. He will also have a look for birdie. And Tom, I want to say that was his H3V2, gets a nice skip and gets it underneath the basket. He will have a putt for 2. Kitz just trying to get out there as far as possible. This is the one of the holes that I just don't like playing, but I need to because it's so difficult. Right here, John is maybe 50-ish feet out. He's outside the circle. Gives it a nice bid. And just like earlier in round 1, there was that big ice right underneath the basket. These guys don't have to worry about that now. So they can almost attempt to run at this basket without missing the 30 feet comebacker, 30-foot comebacker. Kitz right there was asking if he was outside the circle, which he is. Let's see if he can get the 2. Gives it a good bid, just a little bit short. He will still have his par birdie. First round, that might have skipped right over by Tom. But right now, it's heating up. Tom taking the 2. It's a nice putt, nice drive. And, yep, going from ice to puddles. And Tom taking a stroke on John Jones and pretty much the card. So, like that, going back to Tom's favor. And, of course, it is a slot fest. So, yep. Kitz saving for the par. Everyone takes the par except Tom. He gets the bird. Going into hole 4. Hole 4 is the first par 4 of the tournament or of the round. Pretty much the only OB is the cart path in front of the tee pad. Just don't hit the tree and land on the left side of the cart path. Everything else is safe. So Tom, all you have to do is just get it through the gap, and you can link left as much as you want. You have a more open look on the left. John wanting that to turn. I believe that was a Ballista Pro, the Opto X Ballista Pro. I might be wrong. He gets a nice, fairly big skip out there to the left. He'll have an open look for his upshot. Jose almost hits the tree on the right. Gets a nice kick out there, out to the open. And he was worrying so bad there. Kitz trying to just get the gap. Throwing I want to say a distance driver. Gets a nice straight there and a big skip. A couple years ago, there used to be tall grass right where these guys are landing. That was OB. Unfortunately, the Parks, I want to say the Parks and Rec did a control fire, so they burned all the tall grass. Jose only had the one big tree blocking his way. Unfortunately, he hits it and drops. He will have a tester upshot and maybe a tree in the way. And of course, the farther away you get out to the left, you have a more open, direct shot to the basket. Kitz with a forehand puts it up close. And this is Tom with a backhand. Gets it up there, puts it underneath the basket, has a putt for bird. And here's John. I want to say this is yep, I think he went back to a putter, maybe his harp. Yep, he's got that black harp. It does flip a little bit. They were looking at a slight headish wind on this hole. Being Kansas, it's always windy. Jose giving a nice attempt with the A1, Prodigy A1, and unfortunately didn't get it. He will have to settle with par, but par on this hole is not bad. And John looking to get a bird, because he knows, yep, because he knows Tim's there, or Tom is there. He unfortunately misses a little bit left. He will have a comebacker, and Kitz didn't want anything to do with that, so he lays up, and he will take a par. Tom looking for the bird, maybe the only bird on this hole. Oh man, he got lucky there, and he's surprised. Yeah, taking those Ricky Raptor legs. He'll take the bird and the two-stroke lead back. John taking the par, and everyone else cleaned up on their pars. Yep, and the temperatures are warming up, so everything's getting just a little bit more sloppy. And it actually calms down a little bit. The wind doesn't affect this round as much as the first round, but it's still out there. So this next couple holes, the wind will be affecting it a little bit more. And Tom taking the box, or keeping on the box, throws a nice little fairway up there. Gets a nice little skip towards the basket. John Jones, I think this is I know he has a blue EMAC and a blue Judge. That could have been the truth. Unfortunately, grip locks a little bit, hits the tree, but he's back in the fairway. Jose looking with I want to say a Firebird, looking for that skip through the trees. And gets something. I lost that in the camera. Kitz doing the same thing. Leaks it a little bit left. Hits the tree and it knocks down. This is John for his upshot. Nothing much you can do on this shot except just try to get his par. And he was throwing this Nova. The wind kind of stopped a little bit. He was wanting it to flip a little bit more than it actually did. But he will at least have another putt. Hits with the forehand, and he drains it. He was pretty happy on this. Fortunately, I didn't get any of the audio. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry you have to listen to me talk about this. But we live and learn. Next round will be good. John to safe par. Trying to play for that win. Misses it just a little bit right. He will at least have like with those leaves, you can tell he had a kind of a tester right to the left headwind. And Tom, look for the 2. Does have a putt. It's a little bit obstructed with all those little hanging branches. Gives it a nice bid, but he will have to settle for a par. And yep, John taking his bogey. And that's Jose's drive. I want to say that was a Firebird. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know most of these guys, or actually all these guys, are mixed bag. So most of these guys will be throwing a lot of different molds, and mostly Innova. I know a couple people have some trilogies in their bag. I know Tom has a couple of prodigies, and mostly Innova. So there's a nice scenic view. And Kitz with the nice flick and running it in. So hole 6, all you need to do is hit the gap. Don't go too long. There is an OB cart path, walking path right behind it. This path in front is safe just because you have to cross it. Jose thought it might have, he flipped his over just a little bit, thinking it might have hit the path, but he's actually safe inbounds. Kitz throwing the fairway. I want to say fairway. It might have been mid-range. Gets it up there on the open. And Tom trying to do the same. Ends up, yeah. He might be a little bit short. He might have a putt. I couldn't tell you with this view. John throwing the harp again. These guys did have a slight headwind. He hits a tree, but he has an unobstructed upshot to the basket. And there's Jose. Actually, yeah, Jose with a flex or forehand up to the basket. John going with the harp again. Unfortunately, leaves it a little bit high, and the wind takes it. Gives him a little longer putt than he might want. And just like that, Tom does almost the same thing. But he should have that putt to save par. Kitz looking for 2. Gets a little bit high, hits the penny. Luckily hits the penny. If he might not have hit that, he might have went OB. But he did it. He hit it, so he should be taking par. Unfortunately, missed putt by John. He will take the bogey. A little frustrated, but hopefully he will come back from that. And Tom to save his par. Trying to keep that clean sheet throughout the tournament. And Jose tapping in his par. Looking for the par, and he does. And as well as Kitz, going to just tapping in his par. Par is good. And just like that, everyone's coming a little bit closer. Tom with the 8 down. Jose with 6, Kitz with 5, and John with 4. And now the cart path now the tee actually has thawed a little bit. They can use that instead of using the gravel. Jose throwing the hyzer, and it skips off the ice. The ice is still by the basket on 7. And a lot of the pros I remember hearing a while back, all they try to do is just crash into those trees. Kind of what Kitz is trying to do here. Clips it a little bit. He will be in that little edge of the brush. He will have a putt though. And this is Tom trying just to do the same thing, keeping it a little bit lower. And yep, there he hits the ice and ends up right over by where Jose ends up. And then John Jones thinking he needs the push. He throws it a wide hyzer, trying to skip it into the basket, and goes just a little bit long. Like I said earlier, it's still ice right there, and kind of a strange move by Jose, just laying up, doesn't want to skip too far. I don't know if that was the right move, but I mean, play to your strengths and might not want to have a longer comeback than you should have. And Tom with the lead, thinking about doing the same thing, playing that ice to skip up to the basket. And it's not a really smooth ice either. There's a little, with the tournament the day before, all that ice was water. So there's a bunch of footprints and a bunch of roots and everything there. So you could get an unfortunate kick back to yourself if you actually hit it wrong. John says, I want the 2, and like that, misses a little bit right and skips. or slides through the ice. Maybe having a 25 foot instead of that 10 or 5 foot tap in. Kitz looking for 2 just right on the edge. He might have a gap. And he does take the bird, the lone bird. Like that. Hopefully John doesn't slip and fall. Gets it close. John tapping in for par. Oh, man. He wants that back. He unfortunately misses it. Takes the bogue. But there's still more holes left. Hopefully he can come back from that. Tom taking his par. As does Jose. Keeping it careful. Doesn't want to fall and hurt himself on that ice. And that is not fun ice either. John's drive. And just like that, everyone's 3 down for the round. Except for John, he's 1 over. Hole number 8, pretty much wide open. All you got to deal with is the wind. And if it was like first round, it was a right to left headish wind. Kids trying to play that skip. Maybe that works on round 1. Unfortunately, sticks in the ground, doesn't get the skip. Jose trying to do the same, leaves it a little bit higher, hoping that to stick, and it actually does. With that ground being a little bit more softer than round 1, the disc actually does not skip, so it sat down right where it hit. And Tom going with the forehand. Gets it close to the basket. He'll have a putt. John playing with that wide hyzer. Gets it up and skips it towards the basket. He will have a putt for 2. And right here, Kitz will be putting with kind of a tailish wind. I know Jose was wanting him to hurry up because, yeah, there was kind of not a lot of wind, kind of when he was putting. Of course, Jose's trying to get there as quickly as possible. Ooh, misses just a little bit right. That tree might have been in his way. And then here's Tom. Look for 2. I don't think that tree is affecting him at all. And he takes the 2. Pretty much the same position as he was in the first round. Maybe a little bit closer. So good adjustment from round to round. And here's John's look for 2. He gets it up and he sinks it. Good drive and good putt from both Tom and John Jones. Kitz taking par, as does Jose. Going into the last hole of this coverage, or of this video. Tom taking the lead on the round and on the tournament. And John actually comes back to even, so there's still a chance for John. Tom going with a overstable forehand and gets it a little flex. Looking for that to skip down there too, and it does. He will have a putt for bird. John, more traditional backhand, throws a big spike hyzer into the basket. Gets an unfortunate skip to the left up the hill, but he will have a downhill look at the basket. And Kitz throwing straighter at it, hopefully hitting that tree to get a nice skip underneath the basket, and he does, but doesn't hit the tree, so he has a putt for 2. And Jose looking for the backhand as well. Throwing it a little bit more wider than the other people. And unfortunately doesn't get the skip he wants. Might have to just lay up to take his par. Might be a little bit closer than the camera shows. He might have that. Actually, I'm pretty sure that branch was a little bit lower, so he had a kind of a low ceiling putt than he's used to. So he does lay up for his par. John looking to run this just a little bit lower. He will have a easy comeback for two or for par. So not a lot of damage down there. Kitz just leaving it a little bit high. It's a good bid. He will also settle with par. And Tom looking for the only birdie. Hits it down, takes the bird. Didn't like the putt, but it does go in, so can't be too mad at a birdie putt. And everyone cleaning up for their pars. And Jose asking if he could go since he might be a little bit closer to tapping in. Courtesy rules, know the rules. And Kitz tapping in for his par as well. And that concludes the front nine of round 2 of the 2019 Shawnee Mission Frostbreaker. Stay tuned for the second round, and keep on watching.